I've got a question for Mr. Wallison and Mr. McNabb, and I have a question about the now infamous OFR Asset Management Report, a report that even Michael Masters' Better Markets Shop called inexplicably and indefensibly poor quality. And today, a report that Professor Barr said he would not hang his hat on. And so, as has been referenced, the SEC opened the OFR's report for comment, which gave the public the opportunity to directly point out the flaws and poor analysis in the report. I think this simple but important step by the SEC has raised some serious questions about whether the OFR should be required to follow the same notice and comment procedures as financial regulatory agencies. As it relates to reports, is there any good public policy reason to exempt the OFR from providing public notice and comment as the American people expect from other regulators in a system that we're trying to run here that's transparent and open? And is there any good public policy reason to exempt the OFR from consulting with and incorporating changes proposed by prudential regulators, proposed by the safety and soundness regulators? And would you support congressional action to mandate this openness and inclusion of outside expertise? Mr. Wallison?
Yes, I think it makes all kinds of sense for these organizations like OFR to make their reports public. The public is paying for those reports, and the other agencies are relying on those reports. It's essential that people know what is in the reports that institutions, agencies are relying on, and the quality of those reports. If the SEC had not put out this report for comment, no one would have realized what a poor quality piece of work it was. The likelihood is the FSOC would have relied on it, might have even stated they were relying on it, and no one would have known that it provided no substantial guidance. So I certainly agree that with your legislation, that's what should be required.
Thank you, Mr. Wallison. Mr. McNabb?
I would agree with Mr. Wallison. You know, when you look at the consequences of a report like this and the amount of activity that's been created since its release, I think it goes without saying that it needs to, it should be available to the public and should be available for comment. I think the SEC comment period offered an opportunity for many people who really understand these issues pretty deeply to point out some of the data inaccuracies and the flaws in the report.
Well, the other aspect of my question was, in terms of the functional regulators, what about the concept of having the OFR, currently exempted, from consulting with? What about a mandate for a consultation there where you allow an incorporation of the changes of those who have the responsibility to look at such issues as prudential regulation and so forth?
That would make sense to me in that it would lead to a better outcome, a better, more accurate report.
Thank you. And I was going to ask Mr. Atkins, this issue was raised previously, but not to you directly. So when we're talking about SIFI designation, or as you have termed it, SIFI designation, and we look at that designation of asset managers, what we're really talking about is something here that lends to the destruction of wealth because of the costs involved, because of the regulatory burden, the compliance costs that come with it. It's a destruction of wealth, but it's not Wall Street's wealth here. If you think it through, it's wealth held by average Americans, those saving for retirement, those saving for a down payment, those saving for college tuition. They're going to have a lower return on their investment because of the higher costs. And it's not really justified by a risk in the market, given that the asset managers themselves are controlling or handling accounts by individuals. Can you explain more clearly why designating asset managers as SIFIs would harm average investors? Do you want to walk through that argument?
Oh, yes, sir. Well, thanks for that question. But like you're saying, being designated as a sci-fi is not just joining a club or, some exclusive club. There are consequences to it, and that is the imposition potentially of a bank capital type of regulatory structure. And with, like we were saying, with asset managers, it's ultimately the investors who bear the burden because, as Mr. McNabb was saying, it's investors' capital. It's a 100% capital in most cases. In mutual funds, it's either on them or on the asset manager. And
Thank you,
so
Mr.
it's all inapposite. So
Thank you.
Thank you. With that,